Now, that's perfect. I'm going to cut this out. Now I'm going to shape it into a disc. I'm not going to put it on a floured surface or anything like that. And again, handle it minimally, but it's okay. This isn't gonna hurt you. So far, we've done a good job. You're just gonna shape it into a ball. I'm gonna get my. Sometimes I get a little crazy. Okay, I'm overworking it, I can tell, but it'll be fine. Okay, now I'm gonna get my saran wrap. And then you're gonna refrigerate this for at least 20 minutes in the refrigerator. You can keep it in there for hours if you want to, but obviously when it needs to be just a little less than soft, if that makes any sense, before you roll it out. You'll know if it's too hard because you'll roll it out, it'll start to crack. It needs to be softer. So I'm gonna wrap this up. And the reason we're gonna chill it is we want all that butter to harden. So when we roll it out, the layers of the butter go in between the flour, and that's what's gonna give you your flakiness. So, all right. And again, you can also freeze this. So this is also great for Thanksgiving. And other times you can make this ahead of time, a month ahead of time, a week ahead of time, so you don't have to make the dough the same day that you're making your tart. All right, this is gonna go into the refrigerator. And through the magic of web TV, I have one that was already made this morning. So let me clean this up a little bit. We're gonna roll this out. So now we're gonna prepare the dough. But before we do that, we actually have to prepare our tart pan. And this is how big is this? I just measured this. I believe this is an 11, yeah, this is an 11-inch false bottom. This is what they mean by false bottom. It is a bottom, but the bottom pops out, okay? Did I just get rid of the flour? I need the flour. Oh, there it is. All right, here we go. So you need 1 tablespoon of butter, which I have. This is obviously, I left this out so it's melted, really melted, probably a little bit too melty. And you want to rub your false bottom pan with butter. And it does not have to be that melted, but it is. It'll be fine. Because this is going to, after we lay the dough in this, we're going to stick this in the refrigerator, and this is going to get chilled up while we start to work on our apples. Now, what is this called again?
Tatapum.
Tatapum. Tatapum. Wait, one more time. Tatapum. Love it. All right, here we go. That's all buttered up. I'm going to sprinkle some flour onto my surface. This is a stainless steel surface, so this is actually a nice surface to work with if you got marble, whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, I had this out. This is a little soft, but I was a little slow getting this set ready today, but it'll be fine. We are not going to worry about it. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on top. Now, if this was cold, this would crack when I started to do this. So now we're just going to roll this out. Go from the center and push out. Come back. Go to the side. Now, I can tell. Oh, that's good. It's a little wet, so I'm going to flour this up a little bit. And if your dough is a little bit wet, remember that when you're putting the flour on, it helps to dry it out a little bit. So take some of the moisture.
Recharge battery now.
That's my speaker, and I thought I turned it off. All right, here we go. I'm going to roll this out. I like these pins. You can get whatever you want, but I like this one because it's not tapered. Some of them, as you can see, it's sort of like it's the whole way through. Some of them come to a point, but I don't like that because I think sometimes it makes my dough, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. Does not work for me, so therefore I don't want it. Okay. Now make sure you lift your dough up occasionally because as you roll it, it's working in that flour and you don't want it to stick. So you can always put some more flour in the bottom, flour on the top. And roll out from the center. I know I always go back and forth, but you really shouldn't. You really should be pulling it out this way. Pull it out. Pull it out. Oh my God, I need to shut that off. Okay, pull it out. Pull it out. Check and make sure you've got, doesn't take long before you can fill your pan. It doesn't have to be perfect because you can always fix the edges. Now let's just make sure this isn't sticking. So far so good. A little bit more. Put a little bit of flour. Don't be afraid. Again, if it breaks, you can patch it up and no one's ever going to see it because you're going to have filling. It doesn't matter. Tarte aux pommes. All right, here we go. That looks good enough. It's not perfect, but it should be fine. So here's where people get all freaked out, but you don't need to get freaked out. And I am going to use a little bit more flour because this is nice and wet and I can see the little lemon. My pin is floured. I'm just going to peel this back. Not a big deal. If you have a lot of flour on the bottom, you can just roll it off. Take this, start with your edge, and then you're just going to take it across the top. And then you stick it in here. Not a big deal. And then you're going to push down the sides. And you just push the edges in. You can crunch it up because I like a thick crust around the bottom. So it doesn't matter to me. And of course then you'll feel all the places it was too thin and blah, blah, blah. It's like don't beat yourself up because I'll show you what you can do. All right, so I push the edges down, right? I fold them back a tad, and I take my pen and I cut it across the top. Okay? And then I peel these off and I always eat this even though I shouldn't. There's your tart. Now I can see where it's a little bit thin. So if you see right here, if you don't like that and you're freaking out about that, all you have to do is take some of your pastry dough. You could just put a little bit of water in here, and then you can just paste this edge on like this, right? Because no one's going to see that with the filling. And then just cut it across the top again. Now that, obviously I exaggerated a little bit. I wanted to show you, but let me push this back. And so you can fix that if you want to, okay? And here's some other thing. You want to fix that? Okay, we can fix that if we feel like it. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do this. I'm just doing this to show you. Then just cut this across. So what? So you got a nice big thick piece, right? Everybody loves a thick piece of dough. Yummy. Okay, now, here's the other thing to be careful about. You lift this up. Don't stick your hand through the bottom. I've done that a million times. You got a little cutting board. I'm just going to stick this on here. And I'm going to stick this in the refrigerator. Oh, I should put some, I'll wait till the holes. And I'm going to chill this while we do the apples, all right? So hold on one second. Let me just tell you, this total tart has 2,600 calories in it. But you're only going to eat 1/8 of a slice. 1/8 of a slice is 335 calories. Basically 9 points if you're on Weight Watchers. So, as you know, if you're eating 300, that's a meal, but it's our cheat day and we don't give a darn. I might eat half the pie, and let me tell you, I have eaten half that pie before. I'll tell you what, this is really good too. If you want to save this sometimes, I'll put like a little piece of apple in it and cook it. Okay, no more raw dough. Done. All right, now we're going to cut the apples. So, Granny Smith apples. We're using Granny Smith apples because they are very acidic. They hold their shape. And actually it was interesting, I was doing a little research. Mrs. Maria Smith, these are actually from Australia. They're actually an heirloom apple, believe it or not, even though they're so ubiquitous. Is that the word, ubiquitous, that they're everywhere? Yay, I got a clap. But these are actually heirloom apples, and a lot of people like apples that are much sweeter, so you'll find a lot of those, but these are actually really tart. They're great for baking. And they've been around a long time, and they're beautiful color. As you can see, my Gap color, I wore that, but right now, well, you know what, let's take this off because it is really hot. Now, what happens when you cut an apple? They start to get brown. So we want to make sure that we have a little bit of lemon juice. So I'm going to take this lemon, which has flour on it. I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to have it ready to squeeze on my lemon part, my apple parts when they go into the bowl. So here we go. You need 3 or 4 Granny Smith apples. Here we go. And you need at least this is what I use, right? This is Melissa's Good Grips cutter. And you need a sharp knife. All right, here we go. Here's how I found the best way, and I've done this tart all the time. I love it. Your friends will be amazed that you actually made it. They won't believe you. But it's very easy. I cut the tops off. Then I use my peeler. I peel this around. I used to do this on a mandolin, but I didn't like the shape of the apples. And you can actually go around, which is probably what the professional chefs do, but hey, I'm an amateur. Because what are we making? Tata pomme. All right, so I peel that off. Then I take my, whatever this is called, my segmenter. Let's call it a segmenter. I put it down, and I go through the apple. Now, these are too big to use, and sometimes you get this little bit of that core, so you want to cut that out. These are too big to use, but that's okay. I'm not going to slice them up to the size that I want them. I'm actually going to end up cutting that in thirds. This is going to be like in thirds, but I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want them to get all brown. But I am going to just squeeze a little bit of lemon. Watch the seeds into the bowl. And I throw the seed in the bowl. Lovely. Now I'm just going to do the rest of these apples. That was 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 4 because I'm not always happy with all the shapes that I get. These are some juicy apples. Oh. What? I don't know what that was. Okay, so I've got my last apple done, and you can see they're starting to get brown already. Put a little more lemon, not too much because the lemon flavor will come through. I'm going to toss this up, seeds and all. Okay, now this is done. Messy today. Messy, messy, messy. Good outfit though, don't you think, huh? Gap, love it. Coming out. I know, I swear, I have got to lose 15 pounds. It's still, the tart is still a little bit soft, so I'm going to go ahead and, the doughs, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting these. So I'm just cutting these thin, because they'll layer more easily when you put them in the, you'll see when you put them in the tart. And I probably have overestimated the calories in this, because you don't use as many apples, but whatever. And again, it doesn't matter. You're not supposed to cut. I'm going to eat this. You're not counting your calories on your cheat day. This is the day for you to reward yourself if you like to reward yourself by eating food. And for those of us that love food, yes, we're rewarding ourselves by eating food. It's okay. I'm going to slice these now. They're going to go brown quickly, so I'm actually going to take these and toss them right back into that same bowl that's got the lemon. I'm not going to add any more lemon to them though, because I don't want to make too much lemony. They'll get enough lemon in here, and it's okay if they go a little bit brown. Obviously, they're going to be, you know, it's going to be, you're going to be cooking them. So here we got our slices. I've left some of these as chunks because I actually, when I'm actually fitting the apple slices, I like to cut some the size that I want. So that's enough. Now my tart dough is a little soft, and I'm going to show you why. Because you see, I can still stick my finger in there. I actually like it a little bit harder, but I think we're going to deal with it anyway, because we just are. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Sometimes that happens. You don't have time to chill it anymore. You could you could put this in the freezer for a little bit if you wanted to. So I need a fork. And I'm going to poke holes into the bottom.
What does that do?
What does that do? That's an excellent question, Kevin. I believe that it stops it from all puffing up and pushing up the pie. It also allows the juices to go in, and it sort of seals it. But if you didn't do this, you could get a big air bubble. That's what I believe. I didn't get a chance to look that up, but I don't know. I always prick an eye. I always prick the pie tart or the shell, but I believe that is what it is. Okay, now, isn't that pretty? There we go.